Hey, what's up everybody, and welcome back to Drums and Drams. My name is Cameron, and today we have another episode of Quick Sips. Now on today's episode, we're going to be taking a look at the brand new Blood Oath Pact 7 coming out of the Lux Row Distillery, and I've got to say, I'm very excited about this. Now before we go any further, I need to say thank you to a very generous patron and supporter of the channel, Dave Rosas. Thank you, Dave, for sending in this sample of Blood Oath Pact 7. It means a lot when I have people sending in these super high quality samples, and that's really what this Quick Sip series is all about. It's an opportunity to taste these on camera for the very first time, usually give my first impressions. It feels a little bit non-binding, which is nice. Like I'm open to being very wrong about these, but again, first impressions on camera here with all of you. So thank you, Dave, for sending this my way. Like I said, this is Blood Oath Pact 7. It's actually the first time I've ever tasted a Blood Oath product. Traditionally, I'm not a big fan of what Lux Row Distillers puts out. The Lux Row 12 here that I have on the drum is definitely my favorite release, but it's very pricey. It's pretty much the top end of what Lux Row produces at around $150 to $200, depending on where you're picking that up. Now, this Blood Oath series comes in right around $100 to $110 if you can find it for MSRP. And I would recommend with a release like this that you don't get gouged on the secondary market. Now, I shouldn't say that so fast. I mean, who knows? Maybe this is God's gift to Earth, and maybe you should shell out $200 or $250. I don't know. I have to taste it first and find out. Now, quickly, before we get to the review here, let's talk about the stats of this bourbon. I've got my notes in front of me. This is coming in at 49.3% ABV, so just under 50%. 50 is like my sweet spot for, I don't know, my sort of drinkable bourbons. I like between 50 and 55%. So this is a little bit low for me at 49.3. But let's see, how that carries over to the nose and the palate. And in terms of what we have here in this Pact 7, it's a blend of 3 different bourbons. There is a 14-year-old bourbon in here. We like that. That sounds great. There's an 8-year-old bourbon, and then there's another 8-year-old bourbon, but that one has actually been finished in Sauternes wine barrels. All of the Blood Oath Pact releases here are known for having a distinct finish. I've seen cognac, I've seen a couple of other things in past releases here, but the Sauternes wine finish that we have in this one is a little bit distinct, a little bit unique. It's not often used. I've had a Sauternes finished Hill Rock double rye, and that was a very, very good pour. So I'm looking forward to this. You can learn more about Sauternes somewhere else. It's a wine from the Bordeaux region of France. I believe it's a white wine, a dessert wine. It's very particular, but you can do some research on your own. So let's get into this Blood Oath Pact 7. It's been sitting out here for about 15 minutes, getting a little bit of air in the glass. And let's see what we get here on the nose. Okay, so this is like classic Kentucky bourbon profile. I mean, straight down the middle, beautiful rich caramels that you can smell the age right away. It's very sweet, and it's got a little bit of a punch to it as well. I mean, it's hitting above this 49.3% ABV immediately. Yeah, I mean, I'm getting this quality to it that reminds me of some of the oak characteristics that you get on maybe like a Rebel Yell 10-year single barrel or some of the old Fitzes from Heaven Hill. I'm getting a lot of that like really nice, dense, rich Heaven Hill oak funk, and that's probably coming from that 14-year-old bourbon. Yeah, a little bit of peanut butter in here, but the actual caramel profile is what's standing out to me on the nose. You're going to hear caramel and vanilla and butterscotch for just about any bourbon review that you watch, but in this case, if you smell this Pact 7, the caramel is so rich. It's like caramel syrup, like the thickest caramel syrup you would put on a dessert. You're getting that here on the nose, absolutely. It's got a great toasty quality to it. And the spice, I mean, just so much baking spice in here. Yeah, it's great. And, in terms of the Sauternes finish, I might be getting like a hint of raspberry jam and a little bit of peach or apricot, but the fruitiness here is definitely not the prominent character on the nose, and you wouldn't expect it to be because only one of the 3 bourbons blended in here were actually finished in that extra cask. So it's reserved. It's maybe adding a little bit of a dimension to it, but it's not overpowering it. I would prefer it this way, to be honest with you. A lot of these overpowered finished bourbons, I don't know. They're a little bit hit or miss with me. All right, let's try it on the palate. Cheers. Ooh. Ooh. So when this bourbon starts off, oh my gosh, it's still going. When this thing starts off, it pops you up front, and it seemed like oh my gosh, no, the development, it might kind of just peter out a little bit here. No, it catches a second wind and it ramps up into the mid palate and into the finish, and it just keeps going. I mean, the spice here is so well done. I think right away, the way this grips your palate, I'm getting a little bit of chocolate now. A lot of those same notes from the nose are coming through, that really dense and rich caramel and oak profile. Again, classic Kentucky bourbon type notes. Not a lot of fruit on that first sip. It was all baking spice, all caramels, straight down the middle, but just done so well. It's so drinkable. I dig it. So we're gonna have to do a second sip and see how this thing continues to develop here. All right. So on the second sip here, now that my palate is acclimated to sort of the depth and the heaviness and the richness of this bourbon, it starts to lighten up, and you can pick apart now some of the, I don't know, lighter flavors in here. I'm getting definitely some honey influence. That apricot has now returned, or peach profile. Again, that's got to be from the finishing cask. What else is going on? A little bit of Cracker Jack. Like, I got peanut butter on the nose. Now on the second sip, as I continue sipping, that brightens up a little bit. It lightens up into this sort of Cracker Jack or more peanut forward type characteristic. Yeah, I mean, it's really good. I'm gonna have to do one more sip. I'm gonna have to do a third sip to see kind of how this thing concludes. But by and large, it starts off really dense and rich on the nose. First sip is intense spice and richness. Then it moves to a little bit of a lighter profile as you continue sipping. And now let's see how this thing closes out. Man. Oddly enough, on all of the sips, there's just a little bit of an ethanol influence, a little bit of, yeah, it's like unsubstantiated alcohol in there. It's like not backed up by flavor. But that actually kind of helps this bourbon a little bit because it is a little bit of a lower proof. I'm not offended by the ethanol character. That third and final sip kind of brought everything together. I had chocolate covered peanuts, or I don't know, maybe like a chocolate peanut butter type swirl. The honey was still there. The really dense caramel syrup. Yeah, it's so good. I don't know that. I mean, I guess the Sauternes finish added a little bit to this, but it's definitely in the back seat, and I would be curious to see, you know, maybe one of these bottles would open up over time and get a little sweeter or something. But even if it didn't, even if it stayed right here, it's just a damn good bourbon. It's classic Kentucky bourbon, and I think anybody that's looking for something heavy and rich but not too intense, not Elijah Craig barrel proof, this is going to be a really great classic pour. It's elegant, it's well constructed, and I highly recommend it at the MSRP of about $100 to $110. So that's all I got. I guess I can't speak. That's all I've got for this video, and I'm unedited now, so I have to keep that. Thank you so much for tuning in. If you haven't already, like this video, subscribe to the channel, hit the bell notification, and turn on all notifications to find out when new content is coming out and when I'm going live, which is at least once a week. If you'd like to support Drums and Drams and you want some access to maybe some behind-the-scenes content, check out the Patreon. The link is in the description below. We're building a great community over there. Some really good stuff going on. But that's all I've got. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. Pick up this Blood Oath Pack 7 if you can find it for a reasonable price, and let me know what you think of this one. I've got to say, I'm very, very impressed for my first Blood Oath experience. So cheers, and I'll see you next time here on Drums and Drams.